Well. I didn't expect us to vote to leave, to actually vote to leave the EU. Bloody hell. Speaking to people I came across daily, almost all of them said they were going to vote to leave the EU, but I just assumed, like everybody else probably, that they wouldn't allow us to leave, and they still might not. I got it wrong about there being a terror attack to stop the vote from happening, although an MP was killed in the street a week before, which did cause a huge swing towards Remain. Imagine what the final result would have been if Joe Cox hadn't have been tragically murdered. The death of Joe Cox was shocking, truly shocking. But Brexit, it's happened! Jean-Claude Juncker's worst nightmare has become a reality. It was a hugely emotional rollercoaster on Thursday night and Friday morning watching the results come in. We have had the political establishment hurling fear at us every day for months. We've had the establishment organisations throwing fear at us every day for months. We've had the trade unionists against us, every other world leader against us, multinational corporations against us, the whole banking system against us, but we bloody well beat them all. Well done, people. Superb. I spent the evening watching the results flicking between BBC One and Sky News. I didn't bother with ITV. It's useless. I just can't understand Robert Peston. Why doesn't he talk properly? Was that racist saying that? Unbelievable. At 10 p.m, when the results programme started, we were informed that YouGov had done a poll and we were told that Remain would win by 52 to 48. We were also told that Farage had said that Remain would just nick it. So everyone in the studio virtually conceded that that was it. Remain have won. Remember, we're talking 2 minutes past 10, about an hour and a half, 2 hours before the first area had even declared their results. And when Gibraltar finally did declare who were the first, with something like 95% to Remain, the presenters of these programmes just made you feel that that was it. The game was already over for Remain. I've got to be honest, at that point I was gutted. But then we have the Newcastle result. This result, we're told, should have been an easy win for Remain because of the car manufacturers in the area and the apparent jobs threat if we left the EU. Remain did win in Newcastle, but only by about 1%. Then Sunderland declared, and the Leave campaign had smashed it. They'd won by such a big majority, you could tell the people, the so-called experts in the studio, were starting to get a little bit worried. The Remain campaign in Newcastle should have won by a lot more than they did, and Sunderland's Leave campaign shouldn't have won by that bigger margin. All of a sudden, the night started to get exciting. Over the next couple of hours, as the results rolled in and Leave took the lead, I started to believe that this could actually happen. Then the Remain campaign came back. They took a lead of about 100,000 votes, which dampened my spirits and I felt stupid for getting my hopes up. But after this, the Leave campaign just powered ahead. And when Farage called that it looks like a Leave win at 4 a.m, I was punching the air. It was amazing. I really started to believe. I even woke my 12-year-old son up and got him up to watch the results come in. He loved it. Genuinely did. I also schooled him for about 2 hours on the EU and why we should come out. What a fantastic night. What bravery we showed. What courage we showed to defy the whole of the establishment. Against the backdrop of Project Fear, against the backdrop of, the sky will fall, it will be Armageddon if we leave the EU, it didn't matter. We did it. Well done. Talk about the politicians being so very far out of touch with the general public. Cameron had no choice but to resign. I think Osborne has to go, and I also hope Jeremy Corbyn goes as well, because you have to admit that guy's been such a disappointment on every level. Once the exit negotiations with the EU have been completed by a Brexit team, I hope, and we know the terms we're leaving on, there should be a general election in my opinion. I don't know if we'll get one, but there should be. Cameron's leaving in October, and he wants the next leader to invoke Article 50 of the Lisbon Treaty, which will formally request that the UK leaves the EU. The unelected president of the unelected EU Commission, Jean-Claude Juncker, has said today that he wants to start negotiations about the UK's departure immediately. Of course he does. But I do worry that if it takes 3 months to change the leadership, this will give the Rothschilds 3 months to come up with a plan to null and void the referendum result. And there are only 2 ways I can see this happening. And that's either a massive terror attack here in the UK or a complete financial crash, like something the planet has never seen before. The only reason the pound crashed so much was because the bankers, who crashed the economy in 2008 and have since been carrying on regardless, arrogantly believed the fear porn had worked and that we would all vote to remain because we were shit scared. They got it wrong. They told us all day yesterday that the pound crashed to the lowest level for 30 plus years. It did. However, it closed at $1.36 for the pound, which was last seen in March 2009. So it's not as bad as what they're saying. In a few weeks, the pound will be back where it was a week or so ago. Just watch. And the scaremongering about the FTSE is even more ridiculous. Despite all the fear porn about how many billions were wiped off shares, etc., the FTSE on Friday closed higher than it started on Monday morning. The FTSE was up for the week. Don't believe the hype. But the people in charge could easily crash the economy and blame Brexit and say we have to stay in the EU, otherwise your children won't get fed. Terror, as I've said, is another card they could play. Now they've got 3 months before Cameron passes the leadership to probably buffoon Boris, so they have a window to plan and execute a massive terror attack in the UK, which again will then allow them to say, how can we leave the EU? Look at this, we need to stay in for our safety. Don't you care about the safety of your family? Plus, the Leave vote has also triggered the safe space-loving social justice warriors, who are now running around crying that they didn't get the result they wanted, and they're demanding a second referendum because it's their future we're voting for. I don't think we'll have a social justice warrior second referendum, but either the financial collapse or a terror attack are very much a possibility. We've won the battle this time, but I fear that we haven't won the war quite yet. There is so much for the EU to lose. I mean, now we're seeing the Dutch, the French, the Italians, the Swedish, the Austrians, and even the Germans starting to demand their own referendum since Friday morning's result. People are beginning to realise they can do this on their own. They don't need unelected bureaucrats who haven't got their best interests at heart telling them what to do. Brexit, in my opinion, will spell the end of the EU project. And if it does, this puts the world government agenda literally back decades. This is how important it is to keep the UK in the EU. And I've got a feeling the elites will do all they can to get what they want. Do you think they'll just hand over power back to the UK and run off into the night? No chance. They will kill, steal and destroy to get their own way. We're still in this battle. Don't get complacent. We need to keep up the pressure and be strong against whatever they throw at us. But for now, well done everybody. Well bloody done.